welcome back to Richard's Toy Room once again. Today we have a interesting toy. Now I was just doing my usual surfing through eBay, and I don't even remember how I came across this. I may have been looking at something else, and then I saw that the seller was selling some other toys. And if you notice some of my videos, especially a lot of the upcoming ones, I like talking toys. So when I saw this, I wasn't sure what it was. I saw this little hole down here, and I thought that it was a pull string. Of course, that's a really odd place to put a pull string. Now that I'm thinking about it, they're usually in the back or on the side. Anyway, I just assumed it was a talking Alvin the Chipmunk doll. And as far as I can tell, this is from the very early 60s. I think like 1963, 62, something like that. It's made by Knickerbocker. The tag's missing. But, you know, after I found it, I did a little bit of research on it, and I saw that Knickerbocker must have had the license to make the Chipmunks toys back then, and they made quite a few different ones. And turns out this is not a talking Alvin. What it actually is a music box nighttime sleeping doll. So what happened was the crank came off and it's missing, and inside of him is I had to take it apart to oil it up and get it all cleaned up and working, but you got a music box. Your typical Japan, I think it's a Sankyo or something. It's not branded, but that's what these look like. And this is inside him. So you haven't seen the back, so I've already started working on him. I took his stitching all down out of the back, and I dug this out. And it works perfect. But I wanted to make it work for another 50 or so years. So I cracked the glue along the top, and as you saw, I took it apart. It even says right on there, the Chipmunk song. And so I will glue this back together and put it back in, and I have the proper thread to sew this back up. It obviously needs to be cleaned. He doesn't want to stand up too well because he's top heavy. His neck was actually even over farther, but I have to, when I get it, I'm going to stuff the stuffing up farther into his neck to support his neck, so he's actually more like this, how he should be. And I'll clean the stains and stuff off. I'll make him look a lot spiffier. But I don't know if I keep him or not. I can't decide. I guess it depends on what he's actually worth working. But I ordered some universal, I guess, music box keys for this. The only ones I could find that looked even remotely close or that looked like they would work. They're actually kind of hard to find, believe it or not. Because it looked like it was like a ring that was on here that kind of had that folded, so it would go flat. It wasn't one of those like T-shaped ones or anything like that. It'd have to be a little longer to get through the hole and down into the shaft of this. And they make these ones, they're called child-proof, and they have like a spring on the end. I'll show you when I get them. I just ordered them today. But, I mean, this is a pretty simple fix, really. I mean, compared to a lot of things. But I just thought he was an interesting toy that you just don't see. I think he's kind of rare. And so, like I said, I thought he was a talking one, but after I had already bid and won him, believe it or not, 99 cents. I found out he was a music box instead of talking. So that's why I'm not sure if I want to keep him or not, because I collect the talking ones. But he is kind of neat, and I do like more rarer stuff, so I may end up keeping him. But I definitely have to clean him up. He's kind of filthy. And so I guess that's all we can do right now, is just show them to you. So in the next segment, I will have the key ready, and I will clean him up. And actually, it probably won't be that much. You don't need to see me wash him. So I guess probably the next thing will be me showing you the music box, putting it back in, and sewing them back up, and be done. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Okay, so we're back with Alvin here. Now I did find a solution after quite a bit of trial and error. I was about to give up. Oddly enough, I did find a place in Scottsdale, which is not too far from me. This was a little while back though, because I started doing this about 6 months ago. And they wouldn't allow anybody to come into the store, and there's like no way I can try to find the key that would fit this thing, since it seemed to be an odd size, and they weren't very helpful on the phone. They're all like panicking, I'm not going to go into it, but anyway, so that was kind of like not an option at the time. So I went into Ace Hardware. My intention was to find a threaded tube that would fit on this. They didn't have anything that small. So I was just about to give up, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, what about lamps? Now, how they still use them, but in the older lamps, they have like a little thing you turn up where the bulb screws in, and click, 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 to turn the light on and off. Well, I went down that aisle, and they had a box of these, and sure enough, that's what this is here right now. It fit perfect. The exact right size. Came with 2 of them in there. Unfortunately, this is not what was originally on there. So my thought was, just took me about 5 tries to get this right, but I took a nail and I pounded it and formed it into the shape of a D. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the head off of this. Let me take this out of here because I have to take this out anyway. Just so you know, this is what we're looking at. It's a lamp socket knob. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that ornate head off of there, and I'm going to drill a hole through here, and I'm going to put this on. Hope you can see that, like that. And then what it will also do is it'll fold side to side, which is originally how this was intended, so that nothing was really sticking out of here. So it'll be like this. You can't see that. I'm trying to do this so you can see what I'm showing you. It'll kind of sit on there like that, but then it'll also fold down flat like that, so nothing will be sticking out. So that's my goal. Hopefully I won't destroy this thing doing it. And this nail is pretty tough, so all I have to do is get into the hole, and I can just squeeze it with some pliers or a vise, and it ain't gonna be coming off of there. Alright, so then we're gonna have to clean him up, get him so his head's not so floppy. I gotta stuff some of this stuffing up in there, and tape this back down. Not tape it, but glue it back down. And that's about it. And we have to sew him back up. But I'm gonna pull a lot of this stuffing out of here so that I can get it up where I need it, and also get the music box in there exactly where I want it as well. It's just kind of like floating in there a little bit. See, he doesn't really stand up too well. And I'm hoping maybe when I can reposition the stuffing, and maybe if I move the music box right towards the front, maybe that'll put the weight a little bit more so he'll stand more upright. But we'll see what happens. Need to clean his vinyl head. It's kind of dingy and dirty, but I think it'll come out pretty good. So guess we'll just be back after that. Okay, so we're back from the wash. Poor sad little Alvin. Here's his guts. So we have to put all this back in. And here's this little player. And here is the, if you remember before, it had that really ornate looking gold key end on it. And here's that piece of nail that I formed into shape, and I drilled a hole. Unfortunately, didn't get the hole quite perfect. But, I mean, you know, it's darn close. But as you can see, now it pivots, and it'll go flush into his stomach like this, and it can fold over. It's kind of like a keep a kid from poking his eye out kind of thing, I guess. Not that this will probably ever be owned by a child again, but anyway. So now we have to put them back together. So I'm going to stuff all his stuff in, and put the music box and the key back in, and then I'll show you what we're going to do after that. We also have to clean up and reattach the edges of his A here. Well, not clean it up, I already cleaned it. It's got like fuzz and stuff on it. I think I'm going to run a lint machine over it or something. So I'll stuff him up, put his music box in, and we'll be back for the next step. Okay, so here we are. He's back to, well, he's basically done except for what we have to do in the back here. And we have to sew up, re-sew this seam back together. And instead of trying to find, you know, the right color thread or anything, what I found on a lot of these talking dolls that I'm doing is what they've used was transparent thread. Basically kind of like a real thin fishing line. And that's what I'm going to use to sew this one up too. So then we'll take a lint roller to them after I touch up this A here, and we'll wind him up and I'll show you him complete. Now he's done. So what I ended up doing was, this is like a felt glued on A for Alvin on his chest of his sweater here. And I used this Eileen's tacky glue just to glue down the edges that were kind of loose. I was going to use the spray adhesive, but that stuff gets kind of messy, and then I remembered I had this, and that's basically what this is for. So, worked pretty good. Here's the seam all sewed up in the back. I did what they call a hidden stitch. If you're interested or curious of what that is, there's 1,000 videos on YouTube. You can look for a tutorial. But it's pretty simple, and it hides most of the seam. Or the stitching, anyway. And, yeah, so he's completely done. I ran a lint roller over him to get most of that lint that was from the stuffing off of his body here. He does stand up sort of straight. It's kind of hard to get him to be perfectly perpendicular here, but I mean, it's not bad. He was leaning back a lot before. I mean, you put him in a case and you put him up against the wall, it'll be perfectly fine. I was going to touch up the paint on his hat, but I figured it's not that bad. It adds a little, what do you want to call it? Realism? I don't know. Doesn't look overly renewed, I guess. Yeah, I didn't I didn't really touch up anything. I just did a little bit of cleaning and a little couple of spot shots because we had a little couple of spots on his hands, and that's really about it. Just scrubbed up his face pretty good. There was some dirt on there. Had to use a magic eraser on a couple spots, but yeah. And as far as the A, what I did was I took one of those sweater shavers. I don't even know if they make those things anymore. I'm sure they must. It's like an electric razor, you know, with this blade and a screen, and you just kind of shave it along like your sweater to get the little pills and stuff off. And that's what I did to take all the little like kind of pills or whatever off this A on here. So let's wind him up, and you can hear him do his thing. I think that's about good. Christmas song. Chipmunk song. Their first hit, 1958. Hurry Christmas. So yeah, this was a child's night-night toy. So I hope you enjoyed that. Something unique I've never seen before. It's too bad somebody cut the label off, but it's not necessary. It's just nice to have that for documentation. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.